Jason, thank you very much for those very warm words. I have enormous respect for Jason and what he has accomplished and is going to accomplish here, and he's certainly a very good friend as well, and so I'm pleased to be able to participate this morning in helping to launch the center. President Bollinger, Dean Lieberman, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very auspicious occasion. I was thinking as Jason was speaking, he in a very nutshell described really what the issues are and what the center is going to do and what's its contribution going to be. I also felt a little nervous because I think he just gave me the assignment for my next book, so I have to listen carefully to that. But it's a pleasure to be able to be here with everybody today at Columbia to help commemorate and really mark the launch of this new center and to congratulate Columbia on this very great initiative and its commitment to it. Its significance is in terms of what it means for this university, for SEPA, what it means for New York City, but it's also significant for what it means for the energy community defined very widely, and certainly for the wider policy community exactly in the way that Jason described. So I have to add my congratulations to the university on its very wise choice of Jason to lead it, for his leadership, for his intelligence, for his ability to bring people together as evidenced today, his passion for these issues, and as those of us who have worked and have been in dialogue know, with his relentless curiosity to know more and more about them. So with him at the head, this center will have a great opportunity to have a very distinctive role. There are, as we know, a number of centers in the United States and elsewhere in the world, centers of excellence in energy. And each has its kind of own emphasis and focus. But I think this one will play a very distinctive role. It's a role that the university affords it, its leadership affords it, and also being in New York City affords it. It will be, as I understand it and as we see it, it will have a strong market focus. It means not only the physical markets in terms of energy supply, but also the financial investment markets, which are such an important part of energy today. It brings a recognition of the realities and the weight of the energy balance to the discussion, which sometimes gets lost, and it will relate to the major policy issues, both national and global. And that's reflected in what is today's superb program, which really demonstrates the interaction of policy and energy markets. So my opportunity is just to take a few minutes to provide some framework for the discussion that will ensue today. Those of you who go through the pain of writing a book will know, at least in my experience, is that the most painful part of it is writing the conclusion. Because after you spend all this time on it, you actually have to figure out what's it all about. And you have to think about your readers who actually at the end of the time they've spent with you have to decide what it's all about. And so I went through that with the quest, and I realized, it seemed to me, there are three big questions that kind of define energy today, and that really kind of provide the framework in which this center will work. The first one is the question, are we going to run out? Is there enough? Is there enough energy? If we just think back 4 years ago, peak oil, dark days ahead in terms of energy, very different perspective today. But there was a driving force that really goes to kind of what SEPA is all about, which is what was happening in energy was reflecting what was happening in the world, how the world was changing, and in particular, the changing balance between the developed and the developing countries called emerging markets. Now some people say we should call them the fast growth markets. Those who have been around the energy subject for a little while know that when you used to do an energy balance, and I know several people in this room who were involved in it, you did OECD over there, and then you did something else there called ROW. What was ROW? ROW was the rest of the world, and it was just the tail. It didn't matter because all the consumption was in these OECD countries. Well, that's what changed and really started to change around 2004 and has changed the global energy situation. Today, as much or more oil is consumed in the fast growth economies in the developing world as in the developed world. And in terms of where we see that going, all the demand growth virtually is going to be in the emerging markets. So, as Jason said, we're now debating, we're now adjusting to that. And of course, at the same time, we've had these major changes in the United States, the surprises with shale gas and tight oil. And each time when we're running out of oil, It seems it's all over, and this last time we ran out of oil, it was the 5th time we ran out of oil. What happens? New technologies, new areas open up, and that's exactly what's happened this time. And so I think it's fair to say that the biggest energy innovation so far in this century is shale gas, tight oil, and its impact. There will be others. So we debate exports now, not imports. I think that there was a crossover in 2011 when it went beyond just talking about energy, when it was really shifted to the economic impact, the job impact, US competitiveness. And last time I was in Europe, seeing people from the European business community, you felt that their European angst has deepened even more as they worry now that that they're not going to be competitive against the United States, another major change in the world. So it's still sobering when you look at the challenge that's there in meeting the world's energy needs, a doubling of the world economy in 2 decades, and what that will mean. The second big question is really about energy security, and there are the classic issues of energy security, which have been the same ones that have been there for decades: the Strait of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf, the threat of disruption. But there are 3 new forms of energy security questions. First, it's what the CEO of one company called, not the brave new world, he said, but the bad new world of cyber vulnerability. And this is something that preoccupies energy, as so many other companies, and so much of the economy. And it was really took, I think, a new level last August when over 30,000 computers in Saudi Aramco were wiped clean in a cyber attack. And that was really an alarm for the entire energy industry. The second aspect is physical security, brought home by the terrible thing that happened in Algeria at the beginning of the year, the physical security of infrastructure. And the third is what New York knows so well, which is integrated energy shocks. What happens when power goes down, when fuel goes down, everything goes down, communications at the same time? It happened with Rita and Katrina. It happened with Superstorm Sandy. How to prepare, how to cope, how to recover. These 2 are major energy agendas and will be on the agenda of the center. The third big question is the question about what about energy and the environment? And that's an issue that comes up with the development of unconventional gas and tight oil. It's something I know we'll address today, and I know it's already been a subject of a panel just recently here at Columbia University. But the big issue is, of course, around climate change. And it's sobering when you consider that since the beginning of the century, the amount of energy generated, the incremental energy generated by coal has been 10 times that of renewable. But that balance is going to change because in 2000, $5 billion was spent on renewable energy. Last year, it was $180 billion, $1 trillion since the beginning of the century. And so we will see a shift. But the questions about renewables and transition is what happens in an age of austerity. And then there are the technical questions. What about intermittency, particularly the fact that it doesn't run all the time, particularly when you get to a certain scale? And I think we can see in Europe and beginning in the United States the question, well, what does this also mean for the business model of electric utilities when the question, not everybody's on the grid, but everybody benefits from the grid, and there's a question of who pays for the grid. And I think, Jason, that will be one of the subjects for the center. So what does the future look like? Well, I think we can expect that if we look at most of the forecasts today, they say 75 to 80% of energy will be hydrocarbons 20 years from now. Some forecasts say otherwise, but the sense that the big changes will come after that as all of this innovation starts to unfold. So I think when we look at these energy issues and we look at the scale and the size of the energy infrastructure of the country, we see that there is a very big energy innovation agenda that exists around both current and new sources of energy. It's one that this administration has given very high priority to. So these 3 questions, I think, are the big questions. The specifics will change, and Jason gave us an example of how remarkable the changes are, that again, as he said, we're using a leading technological innovation at the beginning of the 19th century, as he put it, to move oil today. But certainly the enduring nature of these questions will remain. And that will require the brain power, the leadership, the creativity, and the resources of the Global Energy Policy Center to make a major contribution to grappling with these enduring and these critical questions. And I certainly think that all of us here today look forward to the work of the center. Thank you very much.